onderwerp vandaag zal gaan over hoe optimaliseer ik nou mijn interne en onderlinge communicatie. Hier een korte agenda. Ik zal de introductie even in het Nederlands doen en daarna zullen de mensen van Valo het overnemen en dan zal de presentatie vooral in het Engels zijn. Maar hierbij de korte agenda. Als je vragen hebt, stel ze vooral. Breek gewoon in en stel je vraag wat mij betreft. En anders kan je ook vragen stellen via de chat en dan zal ik ze oppakken. Goed, even kort een introductie. Ik zal eerst mezelf eventjes voorstellen. Mijn naam is Erik Bolte, accountmanager bij C-Solutions. En ik zal vandaag de introductie doen en aan het einde de vragen behandelen. Het grootste gedeelte zal vandaag door Ruud en Edita voor hun rekening worden genomen. Ruud, kan jij je misschien kort even voorstellen?
Ja, doe ik. Edita already knows my introduction, so I'll do it in Dutch. I'm working... sorry, dan moet ik wel naar Nederlands overschakelen natuurlijk. Ruud Brok, zoals je hoort woonachtig in Nederland. En ik werk bij Valo als... de titel is Technical Partner Manager. En ik ben dus vooral bezig met de hele technische kant van het verhaal. Oplossingen verzinnen... en dat soort dingen allemaal. Dat is wat ik leuk vind om te doen. En dat doe ik dus ook de hele dag. Tijdens kantooruren. Niet de hele dag. Tijdens kantoor.
Edita, can you give a short introduction of yourself?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Edita Gojon. I don't know if I said it correctly in Dutch. Hello, everyone. I'm a partner manager at Valo, responsible for EMEA region, and I'm in daily communication, for instance, with our great partner, C-Solutions. However, besides that, I'm adoption change management specialist. This is my background. I come from consulting, so I also know some customer topics related with communication, with Teams, with Microsoft technology. And I also got MVP award a few years ago. So this is just a privilege on the top of all of those roles I'm handling. And I'm super happy to meet you and share my thoughts, unfortunately in English, but let's say that next time I will try to say more in Dutch.
Well, that's a nice challenge, Edita.
It is.
I'll give you a crash course then.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Ruud. So we are a team.
Oké, dan nog eventjes kort over C-Solutions. C-Solutions is een Microsoft partner. En wij richten ons er vooral op om organisaties te helpen om collega's, maar ook mensen van buiten de organisatie met elkaar te verbinden. Dat die mensen altijd over de juiste informatie kunnen beschikken, waar en wanneer dan ook. En naast Microsoft hebben wij ook een partnership met Valo. Want waar Microsoft met SharePoint een oplossing heeft voor intranet, zien wij juist heel veel toegevoegde waarde met Valo. Omdat met dat product gewoon heel veel dingen die in SharePoint nog niet heel erg goed geregeld zijn, met Valo juist wel heel goed geregeld zijn. Maar daar gaan Edita en Ruud zo meteen veel meer op in. Dus ik wou het hier voor wat betreft wat we vanuit C-Solutions doen even kort bij laten. Nog wel eventjes het volgende. C-Solutions zit in Bunnik. We zijn onderdeel van de Claresco groep. Dat zijn in totaal 5 ICT-labels. Die allemaal in Bunnik gevestigd zijn. In totaal ongeveer 100 mensen. Waarvan de C-Solutions zich met name richt op alles wat met samenwerken en verbinden te maken heeft. En wij doen dat dus op basis van Microsoft en ook Valo technologie. Goed, dan is dit this is the moment where I hand over the presentation to Ruud en Edita. So you can take over the screen and
All right. I'm sharing my screen. I hope that you can see what I'm presenting. Yeah, okay, let's start with the content, the most important part of this webinar. Today we are going to talk about the communication, creating employee communications your staff will love. And the main concept is to start from scratch, present what communication actually means, what's the impact of the communication, and then we move into the details in the next steps. So let's start from the beginning. We all know that communication is a natural component of our lives, which brings people together and closer to each other. Employee communication is simply essential for both individual and team success. It simply helps us to reduce misunderstandings, develop strong relationships, boost knowledge sharing and innovation. You can ask, why does it matter? Actually, we all know that people make companies, and these companies can exist only when employees drive in the same direction. And the direction is defined by the internal communication or employee communication. So good employee comms make people happy and more productive. When we move forward, we have here quite nice easy graph, but this is the secret of the communication. Better internal communication triggers better work environment. We simply feel more comfortable in our work environment. We don't afraid to ask for help, share the feedback, but also find the relevant information. Better work environment push higher employee engagement. Higher employee engagement, it's higher productivity and efficiency. So if we have higher productivity and efficiency, our company can simply register higher revenue and profits. And Ruth, how technology can help to remove employee communication barriers, because we know that there are many.
Yeah, we have some numbers on the right of this slide, and these numbers represent the things that will make your colleagues more happy during their work and what will increase their productivity. And on the third place, it's better technology. Better technology, they would like to have better technology to make their job easier. And that's even above things like more colleagues, more staff for my team or department, because that's on the fifth place. So better technology, your colleagues, your coworkers say that better technology will make them more happy and will make them more productive.
All right. So, yeah, we are talking about employee communication barriers and also about the technology. And for that reason, we have done kind of research. What are the most popular communication challenges in the modern world? Those examples, they come from our research, but also based on our experience. We both worked as consultants. We both took part in this COVID situation, which changed the way how we work. And those are the challenges we found out. So first of all, complexity. Numerous systems that are not designed to work together. Quite often I saw no integrations, no communication between those systems. Even last week I had a conversation with one of my friends, and he said, you know, Edita, we have so many platforms. We have Teams, we have WebEx, we have Zoom, we have Slack, and something else I don't really remember. And all of those systems, it's good to have them, but they simply are not integrated. And at the end of the day, it brings a lot of frustration. Feeling of being disconnected from the workplace and your colleagues. We are human beings, right? And we like working from home. It has a lot of advantages. However, we also need physical presence. Non-verbal communication. This is something what is missing, and this is a big challenge we have to face. Fear of change or resistance to change. This is one of the topics I observe as an adoption change manager. That, yeah, unfortunately, we're humans and we are quite comfy and we are risk averse. So if we are getting new tool without explanation for what we are going to use this tool or how to use this tool, yeah. the communication simply cannot be improved because we don't want to start doing new things. Lack of alignment. The information created by teams has trouble being communicated for the rest of the organization, meaning bottlenecks. This is something what I experience constantly. Again, we are human beings, and for some reason, sometimes we simply have issues to communicate the specific information to the bigger group of people. And quite often I'm just highlighting that example that if I go for vacation, I need to inform my supervisor, route, and colleagues from my team, and also family members, and so on. And just simple, trivial example, going for vacation triggers a lot of extra efforts to be done to make everyone sure what I'm doing, what are my plans. And if we are looking at the company perspective, we have any type of information which has to be spread among the organization. And it's quite easy to create a bottleneck then somebody is not simply informed. And the last one, 24/7 online. Unfortunately, when we work online, we are active all the time. We are getting different notifications from our professional applications like Teams, like Outlook, and so on, but also from our private applications. And at the end of the day, we're simply tired and feel kind of overwhelmed with all of those things. So those are the challenges in the modern world, but we also have challenges a little bit more shaped from the end user perspective. The first challenge, just a masterpiece, where can I find? My favorite question. Probably you have heard from your colleague, or you ask somebody from your colleague, where can I find specific files, specific content, specific information inside Teams or in any other platform? This is the big problem, issue. It is frustrating, time-consuming process, and actually we are looking for something longer than actually we're working on this specific topic. Not enough knowledge about basic platform use and settings. We shouldn't assume that everyone is fluent with the technology and everyone knows which tool should be used for what. Therefore, please remember that adoption is the entire process. It's like learning new languages. I cannot learn new language in 1 week. Therefore, I cannot drive the good adoption in 1 week as well. And constant trainings as a part of adoption activities. This is something what is missing in many organizations. That we have new hires, something we're changing, and for some reason we forget that education should be the key and why we are doing those things. Why we're changing this specific process. Switching the context between different apps. Here we have example Outlook, Teams, Intranet, and other platforms, but we can of course list the other ones depending what you use. And again, once I work in Outlook, then I switch to Teams, then I open any other app in a web browser, and I'm losing the focus. Constant pings, chats, and too many notifications, something actually what was also listed on the previous slide. But we are simply tired. Many things are cooking in our environment. And the last one, fear of missing out. So actually, is lacking a tool to stay connected wherever and whenever. So this is another challenge we currently face. All right, but Ruth, let's move into the details and let's focus on the main communication channels in Microsoft 365.
Yeah, no problem. But let me first grab back to 2 slides earlier with the Toy Story thingy.
Okay.
I want to highlight the most important ones for me. For me personally, that's 24/7 online. If I would be 24/7 online, I would go crazy. So offline hours are really important for me. And if possible in your organization, please have a policy around it. People, and that's also the fear of missing out part, of course, but people feel obliged to be online, to react within 5 minutes, even if it's 9 p.m. At night. So make a policy about it that it's not wrong to be offline during or outside of work hours. Then they dare to do it. And the most important one for your project to succeed, in my opinion, is fear of change. And on the next slide, also adoption was mentioned. Fear of change, change is an emotion, fear is an emotion. It's hard to control. So start at the beginning of your project with your adoption. Tell what you are doing. Tell why you are doing it. Tell them what to expect. Tell them when to expect it. Give them, if already possible, of course, clear timelines, milestones, etc. Include your company in the project. That helps release that fear of change, and that helps driving the adoption a lot. Yep.
That's right. And at the end of the day, technology should help people, not the other way around.
Yes, indeed. And now I'll take over the screen. And I've lost my Teams in the process. One moment.
This is the switching the context, right?
Yes, that's always. There we go. Now we see, let's focus on the main communication channels in Microsoft 365. So what I'm going to do is show you the main communication channels in 365 to repeat the title. But let's take a look. Let's take a more in-depth look of what the channels in 365 can do for you. We have the old school intranet, just in the browser or your mobile phone, or even as a mobile app, for example. But it's push communication. You are pushing messages and news items to your coworkers, to your company. But if you do it right, then you also have a social connection with them, because they react on those news items and they react on those pages you publish. But it's not a given that it will be done. It's quite hard to have that social engagement on your news item. So build a strategy around it. Keep monitoring. Keep pushing them to be socially engaged with your news, with your intranet. It's not one time thing to set it and forget it. No, constant monitoring is necessary on that. The intranet, most of the times it's used for news, events, etc. But it's a great tool for your brand awareness. And brand awareness is not on your logo and your branding guide, your color usage, etc. No, it's on your tone of voice. It's your pictures used, your photos used. These make your brand pop out on the intranet. Don't use the default stock photos, but select them carefully, or if you have the budget for it, create your own stock photos for your own organization. These create a brand. That logo, everybody knows it. The colors of your brand, everybody knows it, but focus on photos. And of course, as said in the beginning, mobile app integration, so it's easy to use also the intranet. Let's just say it out loud. On the toilet, for example, when you have time for it. You can browse it, etc. Next to that, and now we are talking about the dinosaur of communication channels, email. But email is not that. Email is a great way to reach employees you can't reach with your intranet, because that employees don't have a 365 account, for example. That is possible. If you have a large workforce outside the company, so non-desk workers, then they don't have a 365 account, but you can reach them with emails. And email is also a great way to focus on really urgent messages. Of course, you can create an intranet news item on it. You can create an alert on the intranet on it. But what really reaches people is an email. But only use it when it's really important. Don't do it weekly, because then the urgency declines on it. One tip don't email them 10 items a day. No, just create a daily digest with all the items you want to mention it, and just send them once a week or once every other day, for example, depends on your use cases. And now let's go to the new kids on the block, Microsoft Yammer and Microsoft Teams. They are not the same. They do not replace each other. They could replace each other in your company, but the use cases are different. And I'm going to compare them side by side. Microsoft Yammer, outer loop, and outer loop will, that means the whole organization. Microsoft Teams, on the other hand, is your inner loop. And the inner loop does mean the people you collaborate with on a daily basis. So the people you communicate with on a daily basis, the people you know. Microsoft Yammer, your outer loop, people you don't know yet. Networking, connecting with people, discovering of things that happen in the organization, for example. Microsoft Yammer is a great way to see what is happening in your organization, new projects, just post project updates on your Yammer feed, for example, so that people in the company, all people in the company, know what is happening, what you are working on. But that also means that your project updates don't need to be in depth. No, just a global project update. What is happening? Are we on track? What does it mean for the whole company? In Microsoft Teams, you can create your really in-depth project update for your project team, etc. Even if you have shared it externally for the customer who is involved in it, or the partner or the contractor who is involved in it, who does the project for you. That's a big difference between Microsoft Yammer and Microsoft Teams. The audience. Keep in mind, Microsoft Yammer, the use case is the whole company can be the audience. You can discover things you don't know about other locations, other brands in the company, for example. And Microsoft Teams is to get your things done, execute your day-to-day job, and collaborate with people. It's a private audience. Okay, and now we are going to dive in the really new kids on the block, Viva Connections versus Valo Connect. Viva Connections, a solution or a tool inside Microsoft Teams. Valo Connect, also a tool inside Microsoft Teams. We are going to look at it after this slide. But now let's first compare them, and again, side by side. Viva Connections, it's a company branded experience inside Microsoft Teams for your news, conversations, and other resources, depending on what you want to deliver via Viva Connections. But Valo Connect, on the other hand, is also all these things, these three things, but it's also a personal dashboard, and we are going to take a look at it in a minute, which can include other business resources. And the big difference between it is that it can also be externally or external cloud applications. If you have, for example, a time management system or a support desk system, for example, you can create your own widgets for that personal dashboard and include them to get things done from that personal dashboard. Viva Connections, there are some limitations, and maybe we are going to in depth into the technology, but Viva Connections is limited to only one site in SharePoint. So if you have multilingual environments, or you have different locations or different brands in your 365 environment, then Viva Connections might not be the proper solution for you, because you're limited to only one environment. With Valo Connect, you can create multiple environments, multiple Valo Connect instances, and show the Valo Connect instance to the people that they need to see. Viva Connections is not that brandable. Valo Connect adds more branding options on top of it. And Viva Connections is centrally governed, and that means, let's just put it plain and simple, admins are involved in managing it. Valo Connect can be managed, the user part of it, by the user, and the intranet and communication part of it by the owners of the communication platform. So no administrator involvement necessary. Viva Connections is purely focused on communication, and Valo Connect also supports business collaboration and external applications as said, for example. So it's much more than just communicating. And now let's go to a short demo environment. Let's switch to the browser. Of course, also working in your Teams native application and also in your Teams mobile app. What we see here is Teams with an application here on the left, and that application is Valo Connect. First, let's show you the Connect Me, and that's the personal dashboard. This dashboard, and let me remove the Teams webcam there. This personal dashboard, as said, it can be personalized by the user themselves. Every user can create their own dashboard with widgets that fit their needs. For example, I can just, let's do it, add a widget, and I want a widget with documents shared with me. There we go. I want it 2 columns wide, automatic refresh every 10 minutes, and I can also pin files here. Okay, some simple settings depending on the widget you've added. Let's save this one, and it's added at the bottom of the page now, but I can move this to the top. There we go. And now it's shown here. 2 columns wide, and I only have 1 shared document in this environment. There you go. But a user can create his or her own dashboard. We already have some default widgets here, and it's also possible to create your own widgets for external applications, for example. Like Workday or your Top Desk is a much used support desk application in the Netherlands, for example. That would all be possible. Next to that, we also have other tabs here. And the owners of this application, so not necessarily the administrators of the environment, but also the owners of the application, can create this tab bar. And in this case, we also have the intranet included in your Valo Connect. So this is the substitute for more or less for Viva Connections. It's just the complete intranet which is included inside your Valo Connect environment. But what you also can do is just create or just include the news. So not the menu, for example, on your intranet, not all the LinkedIn feeds or the RSS feeds on your intranet, for example. No, you can also create a page which is only showing news and add that as a tab. Of course, with subscription, so with personalized news, for example, trending news around you. Yeah, depends on the use cases you have and depends on what you want to add. But it's possible to create multiple tabs to show different things. And now let's go to a really important part of it. Search. We already have the search bar in Microsoft Teams here. And that's a great way of searching Teams because you get at least 1 million results, even in smaller environments. You get at least 1 million results, but finding the document you want is sometimes nearly impossible because filtering isn't, there is a little bit of filtering there, but it's virtually non-existent. What you can do here, you can add a search page with a search box, of course, but also with custom filtering. Just like in SharePoint Classic, you can create those filters based on metadata you add to your documents. And this way, you have control over search again. It's also possible to create a specific HR search hub, for example, that you have a landing page for your users with all the HR policies automatically filtered to the country where the user is coming from, for example, and you can add it as a tab here, or you can add it as another button over here, for example. Enterprise search is a really important part of Valo Connect and often overlooked in the adoption and in the information architecture. One of the first things Edita mentioned as a problem in in the
Where can I find?
yes, that one.
Where can I
Current
find?
environment. Where can I find this and that? And you need to help your colleagues with finding their information and finding their documents. And with the search possibilities, you can create those search hubs with filtering, etc. Of course, it's also possible to add an organization chart, for example, and that's interactive. So I can open this one, and we don't have any other colleagues here, but it's just possible to add that one. It's also possible to create your own Power App, for example, and add that as a tab or as a an icon over here. And one thing I want to add, we saw the search hub. This is searching something inside the internet, depends on your search scope. But it's also possible to add this one, search hub, to a team, for example. That in every project team you create, you add that search page and it's automatically searching only the documents in that team. Nothing has to be changed for that, so no search query that has to be changed or whatever. No, it's automatically and dynamically showing documents from that team or channel. Okay, my Valo Connect. It's not competing with Viva Connections because it's a lot more. It's on a lot of level. It's extending it and completing it. Okay, let's go back to the presentation.
And also the challenge we listed, switching the context. It's
but this
partly
one,
solved.
Yeah, this one went quite well. In the presentation, we have added a more in-depth overview of Viva Connections versus Valo Connect, but that's for a future reference for the handout. And now let's go to some user life hacks in Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, let's assume that you don't have Viva Connections or Valo Connect, but you wish to have some knowledge or some improvements just after this webinar. And we present here a few user life hacks which can bring some value to your daily work with Microsoft ecosystem. And maybe we'll just show a few of them.
Yep. Yeah, indeed, the list is longer, but let's show 4 of them. And we are going to begin with, and I'm going to switch context again, which is not working. Nice, because I had the... Where's my Chrome? What? There it is. Right. Okay. Do not disturb. Really important one. Teams generates pop-ups, and depending on your settings, there can be some information in those pop-ups, a part of the message, for example. So if you are in the screen share, always set yourself to do not disturb. Then pop-ups are not shown. If you want to have a silent afternoon after your screen share, keep it on do not disturb, because when people call you, etc., you also don't see it. You will see it on your phone, but not on your desktop. So don't forget to disable do not disturb again after you've done. Another one, in bigger environments, when you reply to, for example, a chat here. It's not a chat. Let me search for a chat. Okay, this should also be possible. When you reply once to a chat that you have a new colleague or somebody is leaving, for example, you get notifications that people after you also replied to a chat. What you can do here, and it's not possible here, so that's a really great example. And it's what you can do. I'm showing it now in a chat, but it's also possible in a channel message, for example. You can. This one is already muted, but you can mute a chat so that you replied once to that thread and you don't have to see that people are replying after you. You can mute a chat or unmute the chat again, and that also goes for a channel message. Important one, to keep your activity feed nice and tidy and only with important things. Another one, a lot of people have a lot of channels and teams in their overview. What you can do, you can pin specific channels. For example, this one is important for me and I want to pin it. Now it's shown on top of the screen. That way it's easy to find it again. And of course, I can also unpin it. There we go. Pinning channels, pinning things is also possible with files. When you have files in here, and this one it's a long list of files, and new file is important for everybody. They need to find it quite quick. Then you can also click pin to the top, and then it's shown over here. So also a great way. Where can I find? It's just on top of the screen. Really easy to find your things, especially when they are in folders and subfolders. Yep. And now let's go to the user profile to show you some notification settings. Go to your the properties of your Teams app or your Teams browser session. That's the same settings, so no problem there. And please review your settings here. When you are a novice team user, you're new into Teams, you will get email notifications that people send you messages, etc. That's fine in the beginning, but after one day it gets annoying, and you can disable it here, for example. And there are a lot of other things, so please review your settings here if they still fit your needs. And also in your mobile app on your phone, please review your silent hours. Important one, I would advise to have a policy on silent hours after work hours, that it is allowed to do it and it is advisable to do it. It's possible to mute Teams on your phone after 6 p.m. for example. That's just a possibility. Review them in your mobile app settings. Yep. And now let's go for some highly advanced context switching again. We also have some best practices.
Yeah, we have some best practices. First of all, thank you, Ruth, for this demo. That even more life hacks how to improve your experience, especially in this communication perspective. But yeah, let's talk about the best practices, how to shape your team's environment better to make it more user-friendly, also from this communication part. First of all, less is more. I had a few conversations with other Teams experts, but also with Microsoft experts. And the main message is it's better to have less teams with more channels than too many small teams with just a few channels. And frankly, I saw many of my previous customers, they were creating hundreds of teams, and at the end of the day they used only a few of them and the rest were just zombie teams. So before creating a new team, maybe it's better just to add extra channel, right, and develop the existing team instead of creating a new one. But when we talk about channels, we also have to be careful. We also should think twice if this channel really should exist. Maybe it's better to reuse the channel you already have, or simply create a channel for very specific reason. Like the best practice would be specific dedicated channel just for team meetings. So let's say that we have a team and we can have dedicated channel for those meetings. Channel meetings are inside all the recordings, all the files, all the notes, everything in one place. So if I was on vacation and I'm going back to work, I can simply check what was cooking in our team kitchen. Create a team or channel for social topics and off-topics conversations. Obviously, as we said, we are human beings. We are missing relationships and building kind of good atmosphere in our workplace. Therefore, it's good to have dedicated place for such activities. Avoiding communication bottlenecks and so on. So this is something what we also mentioned. Sometimes, or it's actually recommended, it's better to use conversations than group chats. We shouldn't actually assume that those people with whom we just created a group chat, those are the only people who are engaged in this topic. So it's better to stay transparent. While creating a new team or channel, it's important to think twice about privacy, especially when we are talking about channels. We have currently two types of channels, a standard and a private. Of course, shared channels are just around the corner, but please remember that if you once create a standard channel, you cannot change it for private and the other way around. So we really have to think in advance how this specific space will be used in the future. Yeah, team settings and all of those things related with team settings. If you are a team owner, you should remember that you are first of all responsible for your team and all the settings you set up inside, but also you should think twice, do I really want to allow all the members to do several things? Because by default there is a big liberal part in, so actually the members, they can do a lot, but the question is, should everyone be able to create channels, remove channels, removing tabs, adding apps, and so on? It's good to think a little bit longer how this team has to be managed in the future. Org-wide teams might be useful extension for your current classic intranet. We spoke about Yammer. If you don't have Yammer, maybe this is a solution. However, yeah, org-wide team also has some disadvantages, but I'll be not talking about disadvantages. Just please keep in mind that org-wide team might be also useful. Tags and mentions. We know that we can mention specific person, we can mention specific team, specific channel, but what if our team has a lot of people, let's say 100 or 200, and we start mentioning channel or a team? Our feed is exploding. Everyone is getting the notification. So for this reason, we have something what is called tags, when we can create just dedicated tag for specific group of people. For instance, salespeople or HR people. And those people, when we mention the specific tag with the name, for instance, HR, only this specific group of people is notified. And yeah, at the end of the day, of course, every solution has limitations. And please remember about limitations in Microsoft Teams. You can always check Google, you can always Google Microsoft Docs and check what is there in Teams. Yeah, 200 channels, 30 private channels, for example. That's it.
Yeah, one thing to add. 2 years ago, we have seen the number of Teams users explode on the platform, and that means that a lot of companies started using Teams, and that's normal, and they needed something, etc. And that companies they see now that Teams will get messy quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do not act on that messy Teams environment, it will get a mess. Yeah, really soon. So don't wait with it. If you think we should have done something different, for example, don't wait with it. C Solutions can help you with it. Really, no problem. They know the pitfalls. They know what you shouldn't have done, and they've done it themselves. I think in the beginning, the heydays of Teams, for example. Act on it. Don't wait and make it even a bigger mess. Yeah, act now. That's my advice on it. Yeah. And I think we will hand it over to Eric again.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think the last takeaway is a very useful one for everyone, I think, because we do indeed get a lot of customers asking us about their Teams and SharePoint environment, which has exploded for the last 2 years. And now they have to recreate some organized structure again. So that's also a really big challenge for our customers. Okay, I think this is a good time to wrap this webinar up. I would like to thank Ruud and Edita for their clear explanation and their time. Als er nog vragen zijn, dan kunnen ze mij bereiken op dit e-mailadres. En we hebben het verzoek of mensen dit webinar een cijfer willen geven of in ieder geval wat vragen zouden willen beantwoorden. En dat kan door middel van deze QR-code. Daarmee kom je in een korte enquête en kunnen vragen. Even een korte enquête kan dan worden ingevuld. Goed, ik wil iedereen graag bedanken voor hun tijd en hiermee dit webinar afsluiten. Nog een fijne dag iedereen.